Happy New Year, everybody. This is Scott. I am a firefighter and a certified strength and conditioning specialist. Today, I want to talk about bouncing out of the bottom position. We are talking about squats, bench press, touch and go deadlifts, and any other lifts where you are stretching the prime movers in the bottom position and then using that stretch to help you change direction from eccentric to concentric. So the question is, should I bounce out of the bottom position of my lifts? What is happening when I rapidly change direction or bounce out of the bottom position, and why can I move more weight this way? You are using something called the stretch shortening cycle when you are able to move more weight with a bounce. There are two components of the stretch shortening cycle. Number one is the series elastic component. When your muscles and tendons are stretched, as in an eccentric muscular action, they store energy. If the muscle begins a concentric action immediately after the eccentric, that stored energy is released and contributes to and increases the total force production. The series elastic component increases force production beyond what you would be capable of with an isolated concentric muscle action. If you pause in that stretched position, the stored energy from stretching the muscles and tendons dissipates and is lost as heat. Part two of the stretch shortening cycle is the stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is the body's involuntary response to a stimulus that stretches the muscles. You have proprioceptive organs in your muscles called muscle spindles. They are extremely sensitive to the rate and magnitude of a stretch in your muscles. When the muscle spindles sense a rapid stretch, muscular contraction increases and force production increases in that stretched muscle. And just like the series elastic component, if there is a pause after the stretch, the potentiating ability of the stretch reflex dissipates. So the series elastic component is energy stored in the muscles and tendons. The stretch reflex is a function of the nervous system. Both of these components come together in the stretch shortening cycle to allow you to use a rapid change of direction to produce more force than you could with a concentric muscle action alone. And the higher the rate of stretch results in greater muscle recruitment in the concentric phase. You can see a good example of the stretch shortening cycle in 3 different vertical jumps: static, counter move, and approach jump. In the static jump with only a concentric muscle action, you can't jump very high. When you add a counter movement, you are now using the stretch shortening cycle to increase force production. Then when you add an even faster counter movement, like the approach jump, you can produce more force and jump even higher. So what do we do with this information? We can use the stretch shortening cycle to increase force production. That is a given. The question is, should we be bouncing in the bottom position of squats, deadlifts, bench presses, etc.? Let's look at the positives of bouncing in the bottom position. You can lift more weight. That is number one. And you can also train the stretch shortening cycle. Life is ballistic. Sports are ballistic. So exposing your muscles, bones, and connective tissues to very quick changes of direction can make you better prepared for life and for sports. As an example, in order to run faster, you have to sprint on a regular basis. You have to expose your body to the rapid changes of eccentric to concentric that sprinting requires. And over time, your ability to produce force through the stretch shortening cycle increases. Olympic weightlifting requires a bounce out of the bottom position on the heaviest cleans. That is a fact. So to expose yourself to that rapid change of direction in training is necessary if you want to be a weightlifter. What are the negatives? In the gym, when you're trying to rapidly change direction from eccentric to concentric, you are more prone to lose tension, lose some amount of control of the weight, and then lose position. And if you do lose position, the likelihood that you will get injured increases. The problem is when there's a loss of control in the eccentric, a loss of position, and that transition from eccentric to concentric looks more like a car accident than a change of direction. So I would say, just like with most things, be intentional with the way you move. Have a reason for doing what you do in the weight room. I have no problem with a rapid change of direction, but you should be laser focused on maintaining position, tension, and control in the bottom position when you do. Control the weight on the way down, control the weight in the bottom position, and control the weight on the way up. There is absolutely value in training the stretch shortening cycle, value in training the bounce, and in moving heavier weight, as long as it is done with purpose, intent, and control. But there is also value in slow, controlled, eccentric movement, and there is value in pausing in the bottom stretched position. If you are trying to bounce 405 through your chest just to say you hit a certain number on bench, that's a bad idea. If you are trying to get 10 reps in the squat and you look like you are dive bombing into a collapsing chair in the bottom position of the last few reps, ask yourself, why are you doing this? What is the goal here? I think your goal should be to move as well as you possibly can, to be in control of the weight from start to finish. Then move as much weight as you can within those parameters. Can you train with a rapid change of direction? Absolutely. Just do it with control and good technique. And also train with different tempos, slower eccentrics with pauses. That has tremendous value as well. That's all I got. Please consider liking or even subscribing to the channel and give me some feedback if you have a minute. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.